It's time for NCW Life News on the NCW Life channel. The latest from around the Wenatchee Valley and North Central Washington with Steve Hare, and sports with Eric Granstrom.
Good evening and welcome to NCW Life News. I'm Grant Olson. Here are a few of the stories we're following for you tonight. We'll have an update on the Mitchell Canyon fire. A Moses Lake man is reported missing after officials found his car submerged in Moses Lake. A crash on Highway 153 kills 2. And the Three Fingers cause continues after the Supreme Court hands it back to Chelan County. Later on, we'll have sports, your complete weather forecast, and our feature story today. But first, we begin tonight. Fire officials say the Mitchell Canyon brush fire quieted down considerably over the past 24 hours, helped by both containment on the northern flank of the fire yesterday and favorable firefighting weather overnight. Managers say the fire is basically 100% contained, but crews will still be out the remainder of the night checking for hot spots. Fire officials also say the level 2 evacuation that's been in place could be lowered to a level 0 by tomorrow morning, and some firefighting crews will be allowed to leave. The Grant County Sheriff's Department launched a search for a missing Moses Lake man whose car was found yesterday submerged in the lake. He is identified as Lionel Pondo. The 31-year-old was reported missing Thursday by a family member. The vehicle he was last known to be driving was found in the water in the McConaughey Flats area. The search was suspended last night but was to resume this morning. Pondo is a Hispanic male, 5 feet 11, approximately 210 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. If you know of his whereabouts or have information concerning Pondo, please contact MACC Dispatch at 509-762-1160. 2 truck drivers were killed yesterday when their vehicles collided on Highway 153 about 8 miles north of Pateros. The Washington State Patrol says it happened around 11:20 a.m. when the driver of a northbound box truck weaved across the center line, crashing into a southbound semi. The 2 drivers were dead at the scene. A passenger in the box truck was injured and transported to Three Rivers Hospital in Brewster for treatment. The highway was blocked for several hours until the wreckage was cleared. The cause of the fire is still under investigation. Well, coming up, the Three Rivers saga at Lake Chelan continues after the state Supreme Court says a Chelan County judge must take the final ruling on the 1961 fill on Lake Chelan. I'm Grant Olson, and you're watching NCW Life News.
Stay up to date with what's happening in North Central Washington. Go to the NCW Life community calendar at ncwlife.com.
The Three Fingers saga is set to continue after the state Supreme Court says a Chelan County judge must make the final ruling on the 1961 fill on Lake Chelan. Steve Hare has the details.
9 justices heard oral arguments for 4 months in Olympia, eventually sending that case back to the lower court. Chelan Basin Conservancy seeks the removal of the 6-acre landfill that's owned by GBI Holding Company on the basis that it violates the state's public trust doctrine. Now, that protects the public right to use water along navigable waterways. Supreme Court said the issue comes down to whether the state consented to the fill's impairment of that right and whether or not that consent violates the doctrine. Supreme Court said the Court of Appeals prematurely concluded that the fill's impairment did not violate the public trust doctrine. Meanwhile, Chelan Mayor Mike Cooney said the city just wants that issue to go away.
In my own personal thoughts, and one of the things that I really wanted to see get done was a resolution for the Fingers. And I just wanted a clear resolution as far as it being resolved as to who owns it, how's it going to get settled once and for all. And I'm hoping that happens. So.
Now, the state's High Court released its decision July 6th, stating that the Three Fingers do not impair navigation on the lake, discounting one of the Conservancy's grounds for removal. Now, the biggest question that will be answered by the Superior Court is whether or not the grandfather clause of the Shoreline Management Act, also known as the Savings Clause, violates the public trust doctrine and how that applies to the Three Fingers landfill. This will be the second time Judge Allen will rule on the Three Fingers case after making an initial ruling back in 2012. For more on this very controversial case, visit our website at ncwlife.com. I'm Steve Hare.
Two fireworks-related structure fires recently has prompted a call for more public education. The fires also call into question the possible conflicts between the city of East Wenatchee, which allows the sale and discharge of fireworks, and the outright ban enforced in Douglas County. The two recent fires involved a mobile home located just outside the city limits off Kentucky Avenue and a shed located off 19th Street just within the city limits. Douglas County Fire District 2 responded to both fires, and Assistant Chief Brian Brett admits there's a lot of confusion about boundary lines and what's allowed and what's not allowed.
This is the first year, well, the second year that it's been like this. So as long as we're going to keep them legal within the city limits of East Wenatchee, we just need to do a good public education on where you can discharge fireworks and the hazards and precautions that you need to take if you're going to do so.
Brett says no citations were issued for the mobile home fire. Meanwhile, fireworks bans are also on the books in Chelan County and the city of Wenatchee. Well, Wenatchee hosts the Velocity Swim Club's Starlight Open Meet this weekend. Over 490 swimmers from throughout the Pacific Northwest will be competing at the Wenatchee City Pool starting this afternoon and running through Sunday. The event is considered a major economic draw, generating thousands of dollars in trickle-down revenue. You're watching NCW Life News. Coming up next, Gabe Mercer will have your sports update and our feature today on the first annual Pacific Northwest Bike Fest at Pybus Public Market. That and much more still to come on NCW Life News. Stay with us.
Get the fastest internet available in North Central Washington by switching to LocalTel and get speeds up to 1,000 meg. Call 888-8888 today or go online to localtel.net.
And now it's a sports update on the NCW Life channel.
Happy Friday. I'm Gabe Mercer filling in for Eric Grandstrom. Here's your sports update. The Wenatchee Apple Sox had the night off yesterday following their 3-game road trip in Cowlitz. The Apple Sox lost 2 of the 3 games against the Black Bears, shifting their overall record to 15-12. The Apple Sox are 6-4 in their last 10 games and are currently on a 2-game losing streak. Wenatchee will look to bounce back tonight as they begin a 6-game homestand, starting with the WCL North's first half champion, Kelowna. The Apple Sox and Falcons will face off tonight at 7:05 at Paul Thomas Senior Field. Also coming up on the Apple Sox calendar, the team will hold another youth camp from July 11th to the 13th. The camp will focus on hitting instruction and will be led by head coach Kyle Crustangle and assisted by coaching staff and players. The Apple Sox will also be holding their annual autograph signing party at Pybus Public Market on July 13th. Players will be around to meet fans and sign posters. Even though the Apple Sox had an off day yesterday, WCL baseball was still in play Thursday night. Victoria beat Kelowna 12-2. Victoria is now on an 8-game winning streak. Gresham lost to Port Angeles 6-3. Port Angeles' Cam Walker pitched 6 solid innings with only 2 runs, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts. Walla Walla took the game away from Yakima 6-3. Walla Walla's Vinny Capra had 2 hits with 2 RBIs. You can see the rest of your WCL North scoreboard on the screen. The Mariners kicked off their 4-game series against the Athletics last night with a 7-4 loss at Safeco Field. After previously dropping 3 to Kansas City, the Mariners are now on a 4-game losing streak. Starting pitcher Sam Gaviglio pitched 4.2 innings with 9 hits and 7 runs. Gaviglio is now 3-4 on the season. On a lighter note, before yesterday's game, rookie Ben Gamel was leading in the American League in batting. Seattle is now 41-46 and will take on Oakland again tonight at Safeco Field. Starting for the Mariners is James Paxton, who is currently 6-3 with a 3.27 ERA. Paxton most recently started for the Mariners on June 2nd against the Angels. He pitched 6.1 innings with only 2 hits and 1 run. Pitching for the Athletics is Sean Manaea. Manaea is currently 7-4 with a 3.75 ERA. Following the series against Oakland, the Mariners will have some much-needed time off for the All-Star break. Nelson Cruz is the lone Mariner heading to Miami. This is the 5th time Cruz will be making an All-Star appearance, including his 4th in the last 5 years. Last night in the American League, the Angels and Rangers had an off day. The Blue Jays beat the Astros 7-4. You can see the rest of the AL West standings on the screen. Now, here's what's on tap for this weekend. The Apple Capital Starlight Swim Meet began today and will take place all weekend at the Wenatchee City Pool. The Youth Bowling League is tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. at Eastmont Lanes. The Youth Bowling League is for children ages 5 to 19, and beginners are always welcome. The league runs now through the end of March. That's it for today's sports update. Once again, I'm Gabe Mercer filling in for Eric Grandstrom. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Gabe. The Pacific Northwest Bike Festival is this weekend, starting today in Wenatchee. Up to 500 custom motorcycle enthusiasts will be in town to show off their rides at the Pybus Market and up Orondo Street. Entertainment with 2 bands is also slated at the Badger Mountain Brewery. Event organizer Jim Hempstead says Wenatchee was a natural choice to host his first ever bike festival in the Pacific Northwest.
Wenatchee, a big piece of it is you got great riding for motorcycles, the Cascade Loop. You got a great ride between here and Lake Chelan, and it's just a very diverse geographic topography. So it does make for a great destination for motorcyclists from all over the Northwest.
Orondo Street between Columbia Street and the railroad tracks in front of Badger Mountain Brewing will be closed from 2 o'clock this afternoon until Saturday night at 11:59 p.m. The Bike Fest will also be using the Columbia Street Palouse Street parking lot for their event. We'll be back in just a moment with a recap of today's stories and your weather forecast for North Central Washington right after this.
Stay up to date with what's happening in North Central Washington. Go to the NCW Life community calendar at ncwlife.com.
Welcome back, and now for a recap of our top stories. Fire officials say the Mitchell Canyon brush fire quieted down considerably over the past 24 hours, helped by both containment on the north flank of the fire yesterday and favorable firefighting weather overnight. Managers say the fire is basically 100% contained now, but crews will be out the remainder of tonight checking for hot spots. Fire officials also say the level 2 evacuation that's been in place could be lowered to a level 0 by tomorrow morning, and some firefighting crews will be allowed to leave. The Grant County Sheriff's Department launched a search for a missing Moses Lake man whose car was found yesterday submerged in the lake. He is identified as Lionel Pondo. The 31-year-old was reported missing on Thursday by a family member. The vehicle he was last known to be driving was found in the water in the McConaughey Flats area. The search was suspended last night but was to resume this morning. Pondo is a Hispanic male, 5 feet 11 inches tall, approximately 210 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. If you know his whereabouts or have information concerning Pondo, please contact MACC Dispatch at 509-762-1160. Once again, that phone number is 509-762-1160. 2 truck drivers were killed yesterday when their vehicles collided on Highway 153 about 8 miles north of Pateros. The Washington State Patrol says it happened around 11:20 a.m. when the driver of a northbound box truck weaved across the center line, crashing into a southbound semi. The 2 drivers were dead at the scene. A passenger in the box truck was injured and transported to Three Rivers Hospital in Brewster for treatment. The highway was blocked for several hours until the wreckage was cleared. The cause of the crash is under investigation. And now your weather forecast for North Central Washington. Temperature readings in the upper 90s to lower 100s all around the area today. Some daily high temperature records, as a matter of fact, will be approached and probably even broken as a very strong ridge of high pressure continues to build over the region. We will see a slight cooling trend in our area over the weekend on Saturday and Sunday due to a weak cold front that's just off the Pacific. That will slide through. A few clouds, but really no moisture will be associated with that front that's just off the coast of Oregon and Washington. And you can see the strong ridge of high pressure all across the western United States from California up to Washington and even over into the Dakotas. That that will continue, as I mentioned, but we will see a slight cool down will persist through the weekend and into much of next week. Temperatures, though, will likely remain much warmer than normal for this time of year. Our normal high for right now, for July 7th, is 85 degrees, by the way. Our record high for today is 100, and that was set back in 1915. So our forecast for tonight, expect another mild one. Low temperatures dropping down to around 68 degrees. Sunny skies as we kick off our weekend on Saturday with 97 predicted. And then that cool down as that weak shortwave moves through our area will cool down to about 92, if you can call that cooler, on Sunday under sunny skies. 65 the low Sunday. And as we kick off our next work week, there's where the real cooler weather will come into play. 87 Monday, 89 Tuesdays, lows still mild in the low to mid 60s, and then right back into the lower 90s as we head into the mid and end of next week. Well, closing out our newscast today, the Lake Chelan Bachfest began this week with the theme this year, Music on the Vine, From Bach to Pops. The 10-day event brings various styles of music from classical to pop to various venues. Here's a preview from our friends at GoLakeChelan.com. Beautiful. And that's going to do it for our newscast tonight. For more on these stories and other news from around North Central Washington, you can find us on Facebook or our website at ncwlife.com. And remember, if you see news happening or have video you'd like us to use, we'd like to hear from you. You can send us an email at news@ncwlife.com or give us a call at 888-NCWL. That's 888-6295. I'm Grant Olson. Have a great night.
This has been NCW Life News on the NCW Life channel. For more news, log on to ncwlife.com, like us on Facebook, and follow NCW Life channel on Twitter.
Get the fastest internet available in North Central Washington by switching to LocalTel and get speeds up to 1,000 meg. Call 888-8888 today or go online to localtel.net.